Hello and welcome to the Animation Communication podcast, your source for discussion about animation, film, fandom, and more. So please join your host, I Love Kim Possible a Lot, or KP, and Lauren Kizich, the Abbey Roadie, for today's discussion. If you like what you hear, please remember to support by giving a like, a follow, as well as subscribing to the main I Love Kim Possible a Lot channel on YouTube. Spread the word and keep being a part of a great community. This episode contains some mild adult language.
Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Animation Communication. I'm your regular host person, Lady KP, or Rachel. Please don't call me Rachel unless you know me personally, or else I will cut you.
Oh no, what have you done? You've given away your name. They're gonna just...
I mean, I don't want, we've talked about this before, but I don't want, professional people being like, what's an I Love Kim Possible a lot? And I'm just like, those are my bad decisions.
It's fine.
It's like you just shattered the illusion that you really are Kim Possible. How dare?
I'm used to the gaming community where everybody has gamer.
Oh yeah, I bet that's really confusing. Conventions are a whole different ball game. Anyway,
I used to be known as Princess Aura.
Did you
first name Mark, last name Applier?
So yeah, did you wear a little crown when you went to conventions and stuff?
I did not. Oh, but I did do that once for a bit.
Okay. Okay. And then we have Lauren as the usual person. Say
yes.
Hi, Lauren. And
yes. Hello. Hi.
Hi, Lauren.
I live here.
And why don't we let our guests introduce themselves? So whatever you want to say, Faye.
Oh, sure. Hi, I'm Faye Mata. I'm a voice actor, and I guess a streamer. Lately, a content creator. It's so weird to say that because it's kind of a new thing for me.
An
but
influencer,
I've been doing that
usually, I have to, I just did a YouTube video that will come out, well after we recorded this, so please watch it, guys. But, I just address everyone
Check her out!
Yeah, I just addressed everyone as influencers, because then you got TikTok, and I don't really get TikTok. I just know it's, a thing that, exists. Do you TikTok at all, Faye?
I am on there.
Okay.
I'm about to get more active. This is a really weird time because I'm doing this. I'm kind of not transitioning, but more adding another career to what I've been doing already. So it's been interesting trying to figure out everything. I set up a Discord and a Twitch channel, YouTube, TikTok, Patreon. It's a lot of things, and it's a little overwhelming, but also very, very exciting.
It keeps you on your toes.
Yeah. So I've had this background as a voice actor, but also as a competitive gamer in the past.
Oh, that's neat. That's different.
Yeah, it's really fun. But yeah, I guess I've worked on a lot of video games and animations, lending my voice to them. And I think that's what we're going to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm it's funny that every now and then it seems like Miraculous Ladybug seems to seep into a guest or two, and I'm like, yep, we've come back to full circle to Miraculous Ladybug, because I'm I realized you were Kagami, and I'm like,
oh yes, I am also in Miraculous Ladybug.
And that means you were with Christina too, and all that stuff.
Yes,
so
I love Christina. She's one of my best friends.
Aw, that's cute.
I miss her so much.
The
pandemic has put so much distance between my friends and I.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
That is a mood.
Even with everybody, even if there's a bunch of people in LA, you can't see you can't see each other, and it just sucks.
Yeah. I have to go. I'm going back to work in March. I got notified today, but I'm still well, I could go back to LA, but kind of what's the point? Because everything's just ill right now anyway. So I hate this. Hope it ends soon. Anyway, that's been all of the podcast. It's just complaining about COVID. So we have one news story because we're trying to separate some of the news stories that I will talk about relatively quickly, and then Faye, if you want to give your 2 cents in, and Lauren, you can too, obviously. Okay, so I think there was an article dropped last week, this week. I don't remember the source off the top of my head. It's on my Twitter if you really care.
I think it was within the past week, I believe it.
Yeah. So My Little Pony stuff Woo. So so if you don't pony, I guess, TLDR, Faye, do you know pony stuff or?
My favorite is Rarity.
Okay, you know.
Yeah.
You have a basic understanding. So anyway, that's a lot of everyone's like background with my personal background, and then that's how I met Andrew.
Nice.
And, the whole thing. Anyway, so Generation 4 ended last year. They had a Pony Life, which is like a slice of life thing that no one really watched, right?
Yeah, and actually, technically, it was 2019 when My Little Pony Generation 4 ended.
I say last year.
And then Pony Life was just...
But
I thought that series ended, so I'm actually confused.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, no, so they had Pony Life, which was like a bunch of shorts that they aired throughout 2020. And it was, I remember when the redesigns dropped for that, basically they were almost like chibi-fied versions of the pony characters used in Pony Life, and the tone was very different, a lot more like, they use cell phones and computers and stuff like that in Pony Life versus Friendship is Magic, which they didn't have any of that kind of stuff, so it was very different.
Mythical, I guess. So, well, Discord has
they
a
were
cell
trying to
phone
do
one
something
time,
in between.
Count, so.
Yeah, KP had some things to think about and say.
Oh yeah, I'll make
Discord's
it quick.
Involvement.
Yeah, so the TLDR is the new generation. So it's not called Generation 5. It's called Generation Alpha for a reason will be obvious in a second. But it is taking place in the Friendship is Magic universe. It is not going to be its own thing. So we'll focus on new characters, but and it will probably be like somewhere in the future. So think like Star Trek, and then Star Trek Next Generation, I think, is what they're going for. So I have conflicting feelings about that, because that was probably the best move, because I think doing a whole new thing would isolate like a crap ton of people, and Hasbro likes making money. But also that means I have to talk about it every once in a while, because my favorite character, Faye, I guess, in case you need to know this, my favorite character is Discord, and he is immortal, so, and he is definitely the character just to show up and chill, so I imagine he will get written into some of this new Generation Alpha stuff in normal character, and I'm like, oh man, now I have to talk about it. So I'm like a little defeated, but like at the same time, it's like, well, I'm like, it's bittersweet, like, but I do like talking about Discord, and now I only have to talk about Discord versus talking about like the whole thing. I like Friendship is Magic, but reviewing the whole series and just only that has been emotionally draining. So that's my mood.
Yeah, how I see it is, I really hope that they introduced new characters in like the epilogue of the series finale when it came to Gen 4. And I really hope they run with those characters or incorporate them in some way as part of the segue into Gen 5, especially if it means taking place in the future. So I'm assuming if they want to say it takes place in the future, it's at the point of the epilogue. Because that way they can weave in Luster Dawn, who was the new pupil under Princess Twilight, who has now taken the role of Celestia, and Luna. And so... I'm very curious to see how they'll carry it forward, because everything that was laid out in Friendship is Magic was so strong. And it's hard especially when a fan base got so attached to that, and there's still so much more to unveil about that world, especially when it takes place in the future. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, that's very interesting. It's actually so funny hearing you say things like Gen 5, Gen 4, etc. because my mind goes to Pokemon. Yeah, I'm thinking of the different gens. Like when you say the word, like Pokemon just pops into my mind. But anyway,
your Twilight Sparkle has evolved. She grew wings.
Yeah. Apparently that series has changed quite a bit, and it's funny because as a voice actor, I think about things like that, where like for example, I'm in this show called Lego Friends. And Lego Friends has had a few different iterations now. It's like Lego's version of Barbie, where it's like a group of friends, and they all, I don't know, they just go on adventures. It's kind of slice of lifey. They're Legos, but they don't look like Legos.
Oh, okay.
One version of it they actually do, but actually most of them they don't. They're just like 3D animated girls. And people are like, what does it have to do with Lego? But it doesn't matter because young girls are just big fans of it. Anyway, they have gone through big changes. The one where I entered, they made some like race changes to some of the girls. Like like the character that I played, Emma, she just had like black hair before, but they like straight up made her Asian on the version that I'm in. And they made Andrea a black girl, and that kind of thing. And people had such a strong reaction to it. Like, it was polarizing because these weren't the same girls that they knew before, but the creators were going a different direction. And all of us were very nervous about it, but also, kind of confident in the direction it was going. But it has to be hard, when you're a fan of something and then you think you know some characters, you have this attachment to these characters, and suddenly they're very different. Well, some of them are only different in appearance, but in writing, there have been like stronger choices made as well. But anyway, my point is, it's interesting, but also a thing that I get nervous about whenever I'm taking on a new role like that, because these some people were also recast, so that they're like different voices too.
Yeah, especially it seemed like the situation where some people stepped down for that was kind of like Big Mouth, where Missy was recast, and I think of also a lot of creative decisions being done in the middle of production on a show like that. I think in a way, I could be wrong. I think the same kind of thing happened with Littlest Pet Shop, because they did have their version, which ran, basically simultaneous to when MLP Generation 4 was running. And then they all of a sudden had not only an art style change. I mean, they had different characters entirely, and the way that the characters interacted with the world was very different. But I don't think they ever ended like Littlest Pet Shop in general, as, they just suddenly style changed and cast different characters, cast different voices, everything in the middle of a run. But
in the middle,
it's
that's
just interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because there was never, I don't think, an official
right
announcement. I don't think there was ever an official announcement of the end of that version of Littlest Pet Shop before they segued into the new version. All they did was they announced, here, you got new characters, and everybody saw it was new art style and completely different vibe. And I'm like, huh.
There are definitely better ways to go about that. Like for the Lego Friends example, it was clearly a new season, just a new show overall. Like it was called Lego Friends Girls on a Mission, as opposed to like Lego Friends. Like they just rebranded a bunch of the stuff. And young girls were growing up with it. But because it's a bunch of young girls, I loved the fact that there was more representation. As like a minority girl that grew up not seeing any dolls or anything that looked like me. So I thought it was wonderful, but it is definitely a different feeling when you're already attached to the way certain characters already were in your mind, right? It's just jarring.
Yeah, no, totally. That's unfortunately with some changes, it's like it kind of sucks when there's like some that are done, and it's hard to detach from that but when you know that the direction of the show could be better or something like that, it's kind of like, okay, but it's bittersweet. You may be attached to this now, but wait till you see what we can do with the new direction, because I feel like it's a stronger direction to go in. And then I guess it's the Disneyland ride effect. Whenever a ride gets replaced and they make improvements on it to make it better and more accommodating, is that people realize, the fixes are actually okay. What were we worried about?
Change is just hard for people sometimes.
Yeah.
But we adapt.
Yep.
As a species.
I mean, yep. I mean, what would life be without adaptation? Really, it's like.
Oh yeah. Hello, 2020.
Yeah.
Biology.
Yeah. If there was any point in time where humanity had to adapt so quickly And so unexpectedly, it was all within last year.
Yep.
But yeah. So yeah, I guess we could wrap up on that point. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see with Generation 5 to see where it goes. Especially when they
Sorry.
yeah, they said in their
Pokemon.
announcement that they we need a sun and moon. We need and all we need is more regions too. I mean, they were already trying to incorporate more lands and stuff in Friendship is Magic. They should have more regions.
Yeah, they established like there's a continent, but that's really all they did. They didn't like do much else. Anyway, generations are confusing, so math is hard. So we'll probably move on from that because I'm gonna get confused about what we're talking about as far as Pokemon or not. I remember I knew all the Pokemon when I was little, all the original 150, and now I can't remember any of them. So except like the really obvious ones. So oh, it's a Charmander. Oh, it's the one, the pointy one. Oh, it's the cute one. They're all cute. Anyway, that was my
I like this. This pointy one. Which one?
One with the thing.
Which one?
Gotta catch them all.
Yeah.
Faye,
Well, anyway.
I don't remember if it was you, but were you the one who voiced some Pokemon?
I did. I have.
Oh,
voiced a
talk
few
about one.
Pokemon.
Well, just out of curiosity, we can talk about it later, but like briefly, who did you voice? And,
Sure.
Like, what sounds?
Chandelure. I voiced Chandelure, Snubble, some, what was it? A Baneri, Volbeat, Pansage, Lapras.
Oh,
Yes.
I know that one. That's one of the 150.
Well, that's one of my
Okay,
favorites.
there you
so
go,
that's-
And I voiced the 3 Pokemon nurses in Pokemon Masters. It's a mobile game. Oh, and most of those are from
nice.
Detective Pikachu, the video game.
Oh, nice. That's always a classic.
yeah.
Okay, Lauren, I'll let you get to the questions because you're better at reading questions than I do. But yeah, as far as phony, yeah, Steven Universe Future is coming soon, 2022 or whatever. So we'll talk about it as it gets closer. That's a
I
bad
love
joke.
Steven Universe. Do you not like Steven Universe?
No, I do, but like that's just like an easy way to describe it instead of like Pokemon Generation Alpha or whatever's going on.
Oh.
It's just like, oh, it's My Little Pony Future, I guess, with different characters.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Future.
It's in the future. Here we are in the future. Okay, go ahead, Lauren. Take it away.
And it's I just think of the screaming version of it. Well, anyway, I guess we'll get down to the nitty gritty on this. So to begin with things, how did you get your start in voice acting, Faye?
How did I get my start in voice acting? So there's a few different points in which I can recall this. I'll talk about the time I did a live audition though.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I did a live audition at Anime Expo, which is like the biggest anime convention in the U.S. And I won that some years ago, and I actually got the news that I got the news that I actually got a call back, that I got a role while I was at EVO, which is the biggest fighting game tournament in the world. So
Oh wow.
Gosh.
it's kind of funny how like my world is just influenced by all my hobbies. But yeah, no, I didn't know that voice acting was even a thing back when I was just like messing around with my siblings, imitating cartoons, video games, voicing them, until like conventions where you actually just see that there are people who represent those characters somehow. And it's so funny because like now I'm one of those people doing that. Well, not lately because we're not going to conventions, but yeah, it's just kind of come full circle.
That's really cool. I always like the stories that people are like, I was a fan and then I became what I was a fan of kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, have you been to anime conventions at all? Or
Oh yeah, the first time I ever went to like what I could say was a true convention actually was Anime Expo.
Oh, okay,
So-
there you go. So you
and
know how
back
crowded
when it was a lot smaller.
Yeah. So
now it's become the new Comic-Con where it's almost impossible to get in. But
it's
yeah,
huge. So Evo is the biggest fighting game tournament in the world, and like Anime Expo, it's very, very crowded. Reception can be really bad, and they were actually trying to call me a few times. In that moment, I was just like freaking out. Or when they told me, "Hey, we've been trying to call you," I felt so bad. And I was just feeling this rush of emotions, like, oh my god, wait, is this real? Like, you actually want me to be a role in an anime, or like you want me to actually like come to the studio and record some things, plus like, oh my god, they've been trying to reach me, did I almost miss my chance? Like, there's so many things I was thinking in that moment, including like, oh, I need to get back to the matches too. It was just so many things. It was overwhelming. It was overload, but I was very happy for the most part.
Yeah, it's like, good luck trying to focus on gaming after you get news like that.
Yeah.
Going, yeah, I'm feeling pretty great, but okay, wait,
Yeah.
where was I?
It's really surreal, to say the least, and it still is, honestly.
Oh, that's fantastic. I live for moments like that, where especially it just seems like, again, when you have like just really true, genuine, nice people that they get their shot, and it's just it makes me very happy, especially when it has just a humble beginning. Is, I was in the middle of a tournament and I got the news, like, it was I love it.
Luckily, I wasn't playing at the time, but yeah.
Oh, that would have
Imagine, can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Just being in the middle of a match and you get the news, and then it's just
there's a lot of downtime between matches, so it's fine.
And I guess so that was how you broke into the industry, was through the live audition.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, that was my first introduction into the industry. So
What was that role? What was your very first one?
I was a role in Magi, Labyrinth of Magic.
It
It was like some extra, but I also played, like, I don't know, I had like a few roles that we recorded, not simultaneously, obviously, but like pretty back to back. So it's hard to say like which one was my first one, because the first one that I recorded was that one, Tiare, but I think something else came out sooner than that. Which one was it? This is a while ago now. It's hard to remember.
I did take a peek at your filmography, so I do remember that Detective Conan was one of your credits also on the list. And it's so funny because I think in my mind, somehow it's because of the crossover with Lupin the Third. I'm like, it all comes back to Lupin nowadays, because I work in a lot of Lupin the Third.
Oh, that one is actually
circles.
one of my most recent ones.
Oh, really?
The Detective Conan one. Yeah, if you're looking at IMDb, those things are horribly out of order. Like,
it says I did. I hope these dates are correct.
No, well, it says that I did Sailor Moon in like 96 or something like that. And I'm like, I did that in 2020. There's just no way I did it in 96.
He's a time traveler, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it just goes by the
like,
series or something. So.
No, that's
just
great
funny.
though.
Fun fact.
No, that's fantastic. And was that so? What about for, like, because especially you as a competitive gamer, and then being able to voice for video games, what was your first video game role?
My first video game role was actually it was for Detective Grimoire. I was just like a kid with a mic at my computer. This was like a Flash game online. Yeah, so I would say that was my first video game one.
Wow.
Yeah, because I've seen clips of the gameplay for that. It looks really cute. Like, I like the art style for it. And yeah,
but I'd say that, I mean, that I don't consider, like, I wasn't even really in the industry yet. That was me, like, messing around online, and then that was the first thing that became real. You know what I mean? Like, people could download that game, play it on multiple platforms, etc.
Yeah, I was gonna say because some people get we actually just had Michael Kovac on our podcast recently, and he mentioned, like, he would look around at different, like, I guess, job boards online and seeing what people needed voices for things, for little things here and there. Did you ever do that as well, looking at little opportunities to, like, lend a voice here and there on projects like that?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, not often, though. It's weird because voiceover wasn't something that I was, like, seriously pursuing at the time. Like, even that contest, that Anime Expo contest, I was just at Anime Expo, and I was like, oh, what's this? People were, like, lining up for something. And I happened to get in there before, like, it just happened to be open because they cut the line off pretty quickly, apparently. I just happened to be there at the right time, in the right moment. It wasn't like I wasn't planning to go there. I just noticed it as I was walking by, got into the line, did it, and then I like, won a call back. It was just very serendipitous. So, yeah, like, I did do things online for fun, but mostly because, well, I mean, I was just trying to have fun. I like to draw, actually, and yeah, some animator friends needed voices, and female voices were scarce, so I was like, I'll give it a shot sometime. So that was pretty much the extent of me doing fun, like, random voiceover projects online. So yeah, it really wasn't until breaking into the industry where I took it a lot more seriously.
Wow.
No, that's great. Because, I mean, I especially, at least in my background, I come from an art-driven background as well. I studied animation in school and had a degree in studio arts and a minor degree. And so, I mean, literally visual arts are my thing. But even before that, I was doing, like, even as a kid, I was doing commercial work. So I had, like, I basically was a SAG member at, like, 4 years old because I was doing commercial work at that point.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So it's
yeah,
like,
everyone has different stories. Like, I mostly did, like, drama club in school, and I messed around with my friends a lot, but I didn't really consider myself an actor or anything.
Yeah, I love voice work, though. I mean, even if I just do it just to, like, lend even a little bit of dialogue to something for fun, like, I'm just happy to do it because I love, especially when it comes to, like, animation, any chance I have to do animation, I love doing lip sync. So being able to work with like voices and vocal performances and seeing how being able to convey that.
Not a lot of people
it's
do
one
like
of my
doing
favorite
that,
things.
so that's great.
Yeah, I'm just like, ew, lip sync. That sounds like work.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, nowadays when you can do it digitally, it makes it a lot easier. I think
Yeah,
about how
that's
painstaking
valid.
it is to do it pencil to paper and having to
True,
manually
true.
do it and figure it out by ear. But when you can just scan through a timeline and Flash or whatever, sound bite. But yeah, no, I love that when you can get just literally through people you know who just need a little helping hand here and there. That's sometimes some of the best work, because especially when everyone's kind of doing it, you just want to do it. It's fun. It makes you happy.
Yeah, actually, honestly, when I try to think back that far, I'm pretty sure it was just like, you know, some friends wanted help with a project. They were like, we need girl voices. We don't have girl
You're
voices.
a girl, right?
And so I was like, okay, I had like some crappy headset mic or something. I did it, but I don't know. I guess sometimes you just do random things in life and then you realize you actually have a huge passion for it because it just feels right.
Yeah. I was going to say, I guess that segues into, like, did your gaming experience in any way affect or inspire your voiceover work in video games down the line?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. First of all, just, like, mentality. When you're playing competitive games, like a fighting game, for example, you have this, like, we call it, like, the grind mentality, where it's about, like, failure and continuing, and you just try to do better every time.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to auditioning, most of the time you don't get the role. You'll be lucky to book like 10% of the things that you audition for. So like mentality alone, I think like playing in tournaments helped a lot for. And it's not just competitive gaming. It's like all of gaming. In one of my earlier jobs, a client said that they were just like super glad that I knew what the concept of summoning was, because they had a hard time explaining that to some other clients, if that makes sense. Like
oh yeah, totally.
yeah, because like there's a very specific intonation, incantation when you're summoning something, and they're like they I guess they had a hard time describing that to some people, and that like when you can cut the process down really fast, it makes you more appealing to work with, because like, oh, okay, you're immediately on the same page, we can move on. So I think being familiar with a medium that you're performing in is super important. But you don't have to play competitively. You just need to know what it's like to, well, okay. No, I think you could watch some like Let's Plays on YouTube, for example, right? But there's also, I don't know, there's like to experience things like getting a rare critical hit off, and like how hard, like just like knowing how much of a moment that is indicates like how much as that you as an actor should pop off at that moment, right? Like it's different from doing regular attacks, and how much you just need to hold back doing regular attacks, or like, I don't know, if you're like mining rocks or something, you don't want to hear the character doing huge swings over and over at the top of their lungs. That could be annoying for the player, even if it's true that's how much effort it takes in real life. So yeah, it's like just knowing what those experiences are like, and even knowing to control yourself, where like not everything has to be huge. Like for those moments to stand out, you need to have the more subtle moments. You need the like ha ha ha, and not always like it's just like, nobody wants to hear that. That's awful. But they want to hear it when the moment really matters, right? Because then they get to feel really cool. And I think those yeah, I think a true immersive experience is understanding those peaks and valleys.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say with like, I guess depends on the game and stuff like that, and vocal direction. It obviously changes from game to game, but but yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's super important to be able to understand what you're getting yourself into when you're going into voice for a project like that.
Mm-hmm. I played League of Legends before I got the role of Lulu.
Oh, there you go.
Like I knew exactly what the context for the laugh was for. So like I intentionally in the booth made it kind of obnoxious and cute and spammable so that it would, kind of tilts people a little bit, but also it's fun to use. It definitely has scarred some people, but I don't know, it's kind of funny.
I to this day, I still think about like, like I get to use like a general example that a lot of people will be familiar with is Kingdom Hearts. Whenever you think about like the taunts that the enemies might use, like especially if you think about the second one, and how many people to this day cannot stand hearing Demix saying "dance, water, dance," because they're just reminded by one quote of the awfulness that they had to endure over and over, because they're dying to some dick with a guitar splashing you with water.
Exactly like that.
But it means it's a good performance when people remember it, So
yeah.
It's like, so I love that you can still take pride in those moments, especially in the character.
Some of those things are like a writer thing, right? Like you should probably add some more variety to like the same type of move. And then we'll record different alts of that same line so that it doesn't get too repetitive.
Yeah, nothing like hearing the same 3 bites over and over.
Yeah.
And then at one point people going, I can't stand hearing this anymore. Yeah, you gotta have just
putting the game on mute, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and then then you go, oh shoot, I need to hear what's going on. I can't have it on mute, and then you unmute it. God, what am I doing? But yeah, that made me think of I was playing Treasure of the Sorcerer King, which is the Lupin the Third game for PS2. Mm-hmm. I've been getting back into playing more PS2 games lately. I guess a lot of people have, because I discovered when I went to go get my my PS2 refurbished, well, I should say just fixed up, is that they said, a lot of people are getting back into their PS2. So I've been seeing a lot of repairs over the past few months alone of how many people wanted to get back into their old consoles and go back to their old games.
Hey.
But it's funny playing the game, because I purposely bought it just to, like, it was a older game, so it's like 2004 or something. But it's funny to hear like enemies with like literally probably 3 or 4 sound bites, and then when you hear them over and over again, and especially in a game as tough as honestly, Treasure of the Sorcerer King is really tough because it's very strategic and they don't give you the direct instructions on how to do everything, especially when it's translated from Japanese. So they leave out a lot of stuff that you probably wouldn't be as intuitive to an American player or anything like that. So there's like a lot of trial and error, and because of the trial and error, you hear these sound bites that were dubbed over in English, but it's like 4 of them, and that's it, and that's all you hear over and over. Just what is it?
The Japanese versions also have different sounds, right? So like you'll get a lot of and it's like we don't really. I think we have different exertions.
Yeah, it yeah, I think about especially thinking of dub overs in anime and stuff like that. Because it all depends on vocal direction. What the director will tell you how to, what to do with this. Okay, try going this direction with it. Be a little bit more forceful, or be a little bit more cute. Be a little more but yeah, when you're given, it's like, okay, well, how did it sound in the original? And then you hear that going, ah. I wouldn't have gotten that. But yeah, it's a lot of I actually, what I think is really cool though about dubs in Japanese is get to hear how far they are willing to go for some of the vocal performances. And you're thinking like, yeah, they go all out. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the context though. Well, I guess that's a whole other can of worms. We don't need to go into that right now. But it's interesting. Yeah. Like to us, it sounds really, really, really cool because it's just like it's different. It's I don't know. It's like the sound of anime for people, right? But like I have Japanese friends who are like, I can't stand it because like it's so overdone. And it's like if you try that in English, it absolutely sounds overdone in English too, which is why that even drives people crazy. But they're like trying to match the performance. But there's just something really charming about hearing that like exaggerated I'm just gonna say sounds like like it's not how people would talk, but it's what anime sounds like, and that's really cool. Right?
Yeah, it does. It does. It proves that like anime does really have a distinct sound to it that you wouldn't get in other medium, and well, I should say in other forms of animation where the dubs are different or the vocal performances are different. It's something very distinct to anime and anime alone, I feel. So I think that's really cool that you can kind of identify it.
But yeah, in dubs we like try to match it as much as we can. But I think it's also more important to keep a good sounding performance. So you have to find, like, you as the actor and the director need to help find, that common ground where it keeps the intent of the original, but the performance is still good and there and you or the character.
Yeah, I guess segueing into talking about anime a little bit, for maybe what are some of your favorite projects that you've worked on or favorite characters you've voiced?
Just anime?
It can be anime and video games, but I'm leaving it open to either.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I have quite a few, and I feel really fortunate that I could say that, but yeah, I have a few. Let's see. Aqua from Konosuba really pushed me as an actor. Like, I think she really let me play because she has so many big moments and smaller moments where she was like happy, crying, dejected, angry, taunting people, singing, and it's just like full of humor. So I had to have comedic timing. And she's like my favorite color. So like I have a lot of things that I love about Aqua from Konosuba. I also really like Petra from Fire Emblem Three Houses. She's like a wonderful character that I really relate with, but she's also, I don't know, just being in a Fire Emblem series is pretty cool. Although my first Fire Emblem game was technically Smash. Let's see. Nico and Dead or Alive or Matera and Granblue Fantasy Versus like mean a lot to me, mostly because they are like my first fighting game characters, and growing up with fighting games, it kind of like just meant a lot to me to be in a fighting game. I voiced Barbie at one point, and I was mostly happy about that because it was a role that my grandma could actually recognize, and it's really hard to impress her. It's really hard to please her, so she was actually impressed with that role.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, Astolfo from Fate Apocrypha. I learned a lot through him. Like the fan base of Astolfo like really blew me away. Where like acting as Astolfo was already fun because he's like an underdog and very positive and kind of like a fun, quirky character. And he looks like what people would traditionally guess is a girl, but he just like presents very feminine, but identifies as male. And I learned through the Astolfo fan base a lot more about like the trans community or LGBTQ type stuff that I wasn't. How do I say this? I just learned a lot as a person through this character, through the fans, going to conventions and people like multiple Astolfos coming up to me and telling me how much Astolfo meant to them, not just because of like the character, like my voice work, but because how much that character meant to them to be comfortable as themselves. Aww. And for me to kind of just be that, like, I don't know, physical part of his creation that was there in front of them, right? It was just like, wow, I feel very special right now, and almost like I don't know, so many different emotions. Like, should I even have been the one to play Astolfo? You know what I mean? But I was
Am I worthy?
Yeah, I was very honored and humbled, and I mean, I made mistakes even before I used the word trap to announce that I was voicing Astolfo. Like, I'm everyone's favorite trap, Astolfo, and I was told very politely, but I was informed that, hey, that's actually not a cool thing to say. It's actually a derogatory term because we're not trying to fool people. It's just, you know, this is how we are. And I was like, oh wow, okay, I'm so sorry. So that's what I mean. Like, I learned a lot through Astolfo, and that's just one example. There are a bunch of other characters. I mean, I appreciated huge new immersive fandoms with like Yukiko and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Yeah, I don't know. I could go on. Every role means a lot to me. I could seriously like gush for hours about my experience with each one, but we don't have that kind of time. But those ones definitely stand out to me.
Yeah, it's very telling, though, how much passion you have for what you do when it's hard for you to even pick a favorite character because there's so many that you... Yeah, because it's like you take a little something from each of them, you know, with each role that you take.
And they stay with you. They're like a part of you.
Yeah, it's and again, like you said, you learn so much from from not only working with each of those characters, but from the people that love those characters too. I think that's fantastic.
Oh, fans have seriously moved me to tears because you just never know sometimes how your work is going to affect other people. Because as far as you know, as the actor, it's like, oh, I'm going to create something cool. I go into a booth and then I record these lines that are on the screen, and then, you know, and then that's it. And then it goes to the editors. They put it together, the producers, and then maybe it doesn't even come out for a year or two or something. Like you put it out of your mind, and then all of a sudden a rush of fans, and then them telling you how they're so happy that your voice, like your giggles in League of Legends as Lulu, you know, put me in a good mood. And so I, like, it got me through hard times, things like that. People told me very, very vulnerable stories, and I'm just like honored, and I feel, I don't know, I'm getting emotional thinking about it. It means a lot to me, that my work can actually reach people in that way. 'Cause yeah, I just want to create cool stuff, but to end up motivating people in a different way that affects their life in a positive way, that means the world to me, and contributes to like why I do this.
Yeah. And go ahead, Lauren.
No, you go.
Okay, because I'm just trying to make sure I'm talking every once in a while, so people remember.
Oh yeah,
me
go
here.
for it.
Sorry. Anyway,
I told you I ramble too.
It's okay. I don't want to interrupt anyone either, but sometimes like it just question guess, and like I start daydreaming or something, but like all artists do that, so Anyway,
Were
yeah,
you daydreaming during my passionate?
not.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
It's like how dare. Anyway, so yeah, as Lauren and I have been around like just general con communities for a long time, and it's nice to hear, because sometimes the actors don't really realize that, or frankly care that like what kind of impression their work is making, and it's just a paycheck or just something they got typecasted for, and they don't remember it, and you kind of can't hold that face, or it's hard to get through a whole convention when people are just like, oh my god, you did the thing from the thing, and you're just like, yep, it's my job, and then you just like it's kind of disheartening, and so it's nice to see it's nice to see the genuinity, if that's a word, of just like the other perspective of an actor.
I mean, it helps that I just grew up in those communities, right? I feel for those, for the other actors too, where like, I mean, they have other passions, right? It might not be this, and they do view it as a paycheck. And honestly, there are a lot of things I did do voiceover for that I don't really care for. I just happen to be lucky enough, or I don't know, like not, it's, there's a fair amount of luck, I'd say, that I happened to book all these really cool characters. Some people might not even get one, right? But like for every single one that I can, that means a lot to me because I grew up with it or something. Like those are going to stick with me, right? That's why I have a big list, because throughout my life I played video games, I watched cartoons, and so I get it.
Yeah, again, like it's so great to hear stories of like somebody where I was a fan, and now here I am being the very thing that I was a fan of, and you're on the other side, and you can empathize with the fandom people because you were there at one point too, and honestly, you never really leave that, especially when you go into voice acting for stuff like this, and it's stuff that you're passionate about. You're still just as much a fan. like one of them, you just happen to be on the other side of the autograph table or anything like that. It's
yeah, I can't even imagine what goes through their heads sometimes when they're not like other actors who aren't as familiar. I actually feel bad rather than like remorseful for them, because like they're out of their element, like they're out of their element, and they know that people are judging them, and like sometimes people quiz them on stuff, but it's not their job to really know the deep lore of everything, right? Like,
right.
Right. It's like,
so then, and then they know when people are judging them too. I just feel bad.
That made me think the other day, I guess Eric Idle was under fire for not remembering.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
Because there was a whole debacle about somebody sharing a picture of Figment from Journey into Imagination from Epcot, Disney World, and he at one point, I guess he responded to that picture saying, I loved working with Don Rickles, so he mistakenly thought the picture of a purple dragon with those horns was the dragon from Quest for Camelot, which he voiced. It was a two-headed dragon with with Don Rickles. Don Rickles was the other head.
Nightmares.
And so somebody had to, corrected him saying, that's Figment, and he goes, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't really remember Figment, I'm sorry. And it's because mind you, he was a live actor working in a green screen. He didn't really see, he couldn't really see the Figment as he was working. And people had him under fire for all of these things, and so he finally just said, it's straight, like, sorry to use the profanity, but he's like, it's like, just to be clear to everybody, I can't see the dragon. I can't see the imaginary little fucker on the screen. Like, he's just,
That's funny. It's true. Sometimes we don't know what our characters look like until it comes out, and sometimes we don't even know that it comes out. So it's crazy.
So
like you have to. Like, I happen to be a video game fan, right? So I'm watching for these release dates. But otherwise, like, the job is done. You don't look for those things.
Yeah, I'm like, he's staring at, like, a golf ball on a string, and that gets green screened out to be Figment. Okay, that's pretty much what happens. So it's... and the fact is that... But there were so many more people than people bashing him that stood in support of him, saying, you know, like, the fact that you had this long and storied career where you have to go, wait, which purple dragon did I work with, you know, going like, how many purple dragons he worked with? Well, he's had a long enough history where it's okay, you know. It's a kind of surprising how many purple dragons he's worked with, you know. It's
yeah.
So I'm like, guy was in Monty Python, cut him some slack. he's been around a while, so
yeah. And honestly, it's also hard, like, just related to that, when people ask you to say a very specific line from a character. And sometimes, like, it's very hard to remember what line and how you said it and everything from one session where you said the exact same line multiple times and you don't know which one they actually used for the final, unless you go and watch that thing, like, along with any other fan when it comes out. It's like, it's not... It's like something you have to actually actively do as an actor to know how to say some lines. And sometimes, like, I've seen people, you know, react in certain ways. Like, how do you not know? It's like a very popular line or like you say it all the time. It's like, well, they don't say it all the time. They like said it. Well, they said it several times that one day in that 1 hour, and then a select was chosen and then put into the mix. And then you hear it all the time if you play the character, but that's not them saying that line every time that you make your game character do that. That's just, you know, they play that line often in the tech. So it's it's interesting.
Yeah, I think that's another thing with anime projects in particular, and how many voice actors are repeat actors for, you know, millions of projects, and so, you know, you'd have different VAs going into all of these for English dubs and stuff. And if the moment they go to a convention and somebody asks them to voice, you know, to, again, like you said, recite a line from one episode of a show where they've done thousands of shows and movies and dubs where all they have to do is get in there and they have to record lines. And then they, you know, again, you know, the editor picks whatever whatever take is the best, and then that's what they work with, when it could have been like a million bloopers. When I think about like Ace Attorney's bloopers that got put up on YouTube, like those, I mean, that's a lot of them just goofing around too, but when you think about how many times that not even included in those reels that they probably flubbed lines or ad-libbed lines that may have worked better in the episode, or you just don't know.
No, exactly. Ad-libs is a good point too, because like sometimes you just make something up if the character and the production calls for that. Like if you sometimes some inspiration comes to you in that moment, you say something and you know you move on. It's like asking, hey, what did you say at lunch like 3 days ago to Sarah at 3 p.m. Or you know what, lunch at 3 p.m.
Oh,
you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, it's like I barely remember what I had for breakfast this morning.
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
asking me to
It's like you as an actor end up finding creative ways to like be polite and like asking for better reference or something, like, can you remind me what that sounds like? Or, you know, like, do you have video on your phone or something? Or, I don't know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's a situation of where like the phrase or the fan knows the material better than the voice actor does, where they're like, look, they know all this stuff about the character even I didn't know, you know, because they go in and do the research on these characters, and it's like I'm just doing the voice. I'm not the character. I am just putting a voice to the character. Oh God, don't make me go down that. Oh no. And I know that's been a recent discussion.
Cannot tell the difference. But for the most part, the fans are good. Honestly, like, it's something that actors going to conventions need to like remind themselves of. Like, even with these interviews, we answer a lot of the same questions over and over and over and over and over and over. And, you know, you can't be like bored or whatever, like, oh, I've answered this 1,000,000 times. Because like that sucks, right? Nobody wants to hear that. It's their first time hearing it. Like a fan coming up to you and asking this question, they genuinely just want to know. And so, like, you can't ever get pissed off at them over any of these things for not knowing things that you do. It's the same thing both ways, right? They don't know how it works. They can't, like, maybe they'll be disappointed in the moment, and then that disappoints you as an actor, but they don't know any better either. So yeah, it just goes both ways. My point is, I don't know. Sometimes you just need to remind yourself as well.
Yeah, I say it's like approach everything like you're a Disney cast member. For somebody somewhere, if you're like a character meet and greet, especially for someone somewhere in that crowd, it's their first time visiting, first time meeting you, first time asking you questions, and you have to approach everybody like that. It's because you never know. It could be their first visit. It could be their first time ever asking the question, and that's how you have to treat it. So you just gotta you just have to take that all in stride.
Empathy. It's about empathy, like just putting yourself in their shoes. And yeah, they like, especially at like anime conventions, sometimes like people who like to attend are very, very shy. Like, it took a lot out of them just to go to that place, right? Just to be around so many people. And so and to go into a line and so much courage to raise their voice to speak to you. An actor in one of their most favorite projects, and yeah, maybe they'll call you by the character name at first, because that's how they know you, and it's a little bit socially awkward or something like that. But you have to understand that, you know, sometimes it just takes so much for them to do that, and I appreciate those moments. Honestly, I really appreciate it, and you can always tell. Like, there are people who, like, look down the entire time. Their hands are shaking. Their voice is quivering. They, like, stutter a lot, and they can't even get the words out, and they apologize a bunch. And you just have to be patient with that. And grateful that someone put in that much effort just to say hi to you, and just to say thank you to you. I mean, I'm so grateful for that. So, yeah, that's my point.
Yeah. I guess what we can do is, go towards a more technical angle. I did take a peek at one of your videos that you were walking through your equipment setup, but I feel like for those who have not seen it, by the way, really nice setup. I dig the lights.
Thank you. The lights are important.
I'm like, it's an aesthetic. I dig it. I love it. And but I was gonna say for those who want to get into voice acting or just don't know where to start, what tools and programs and even devices do you recommend to use for voice acting?
Okay, so if you're just starting out, I honestly recommend anything just to get you practicing. Like, there are free programs out there like Audacity, and even a headset mic are good to start if you just want to, like, you know, record stuff, play yourself back, get used to hearing the sound of your voice and doing that. What I personally use is, like, if you saw that video, it's a little pricey, but I use Adobe Audition. I have the RME Babyface Pro FS interface. I have a Sennheiser MKH416 like boom microphone. And I have the Neumann U87 condenser microphone, which I like use for different types of things. For like really like heavy animation, like moving a lot and stuff, I'll use the Neumann U87. And for things that need to feel more real, or like you're out on a battlefield, or like it's supposed to be film-like, I'll use the Sennheiser MKH416. And then, yeah, of course, I have, like, lights in there and stuff. And I honestly, I say it in the video, and it's kind of a joke, but also kind of serious. Like, surround yourself with things that make you happy or feel confident or whatever. Like, if it's an aesthetic thing, like, for me, sometimes sometimes, seeing pretty colors just makes me happier and like puts me in a better mood. And if you're acting, you have to be confident in that. Even if you're playing someone that's not confident, you need to feel comfortable. I think comfortable is more like a better term than like confident. You need to feel comfortable. Whatever brings out your best. So it's okay to like add aesthetics around your workspace. I hope that answers the question. Oh yeah, no, it definitely does. Because I was gonna say, to go back to your point of being comfortable. Like even if it's being comfortable in your abilities and being comfortable where you're recording it all, just so make sure that you're getting the absolute best work that you can put out. It's just like it's almost like self-care in a way. It is. It's like definitely. Making sure you make sure as long as you're happy, then you'll be able to make the best stuff. Yeah. So that's like a new thing too that I put together because of quarantine, because we're not going to studios right now. Because there's like a virus going around and like
I think I heard something about
spitting over a microphone is probably, and like sharing that same very enclosed room was just not the best idea. So I invested in a space in my home, but no, that's great. It's very expensive. I was paying it off for a while. I guess it's as long as it's what keeps you safe. But I think what's cool though is that all these kinds of setups are good for the long run, because of in the event of anything happening like that, even if it isn't a pandemic, it may be just a case where I can't make it into the studio. I could use this though, and I can still send in the work that way. Exactly. That way, it's efficient either way. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But still costly, so because like it's not the same, like it's just not the same as like a industrial studio like meant for really high quality production, right? So I'm hoping that things get better soon. There's like a vaccine out, so we'll see.
Yeah, I'm hoping, soft hoping for the summer. Like, I'd like to get back on the West Coast and like live life again. That'd be fun. So it's just like I feel like this is like it's just Groundhog's Day, and I feel like it's just the longest sick day where just like nothing happens until
no.
Yeah. So is that how it feels for you, Lauren?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I remember it was perfectly summed up. I think it was like a TikTok too that summed it up. Was everybody's mood in March when they said, "Oh, we get to our work sending us." Home. We don't have to be in the office for like 2 weeks or something like that. Oh, this is going to be great. We have so much time. We can, we don't have to worry about driving stuff. We got all this time on our hands, but we better use it wisely. And then here we are almost a year later. And it's
Are we there yet?
Yeah. And, I personally, at least with my experience, I used to make long freaking commutes 5 days a week, that to the point where I was so unhappy, because then I would come home, I barely have any time for myself at the end of the day.
Actually, me too.
Because the commutes would be really long. Yeah, long commutes. And then it drains you, because you're going out there, it takes out a lot out of you, especially in LA. You gotta commute, and when you commute, it drains you. And so by the time you actually get to work, you're like, okay, gotta try and reset myself as much as possible.
Where's the coffee?
Exactly, down like three whole jugs of it. Anyway, whole pots. But
jugs of coffee.
I just need jugs of coffee, and it's. I mean, considering I have a certain level of caffeine sensitivity. I mean, maybe in the day it doesn't bother me so much, but I can't have it at night right before bed.
Yeah, I'm the same, even though I do it anyway.
It's like, I shouldn't. Downs a cup of coffee before bed. Anyway. But yeah, and then at the end of the day, you're tired from work, and then you gotta commute all the way back across town and battle the traffic and all the people that don't know how to drive sitting in the set traffic that make the traffic even worse. But it's not naming names, but but it
so much LA shade
not
here.
Not that I can name thousands and thousands of people, but but it's like but yeah, at the end of the day, and then it gets just really draining. So what's been nice is being able to be trusted enough to work at home by my office, and which has been great because we've been able to be even more efficient, because then we can even start our days earlier if we wanted to, and be done sooner, and then you still have some time to be able to have time for yourself at the end of the day, without feeling like, oh, I gotta trek across town, trek back over after working 9+ hours.
This is fine.
This is fine.
So I'm like, I've actually been like grateful for being able to be home to work on stuff. But yeah, I do miss like every other aspect of going out. Like I freaking miss going. Well, first of all, out to eat. It's kind of nice. But I mean, yeah, LA reopened up restaurants again, but I'm not going to bother with that for a while. It's too cold anyway. Like, why would you? People have been out there, guys. It's freezing. So anyway, but yeah, it's otherwise
It is suddenly cold.
There's benefits.
It was suddenly very hot and then back to cold winter.
Yeah, and my allergic asthma picked up because of that. I swear, it was like yeah. So I'm like, even now, it's like I'm like trying not to be wheezy because I'm like, I'm not sick. It's just my asthma.
Womp womp.
But yeah,
Hope you're okay.
But yeah, I'm okay. I'm fine. It's good.
Okay,
it's fine. But yeah, otherwise, I think there's advantages and disadvantages to being at home. Obviously, there's going to be, it's just that way with everything, and it's just taking it in stride. But I like that I've been able to have more time to be able to do stuff outside of work that I really like doing and having fun with. So there's that.
That's really great. I think that's important. I think, honestly,
that's
2020
my
made us
self-care
all
is working on stuff.
reflect on our lives, and yeah, I guess we talked about it earlier, but adapt and make things better for ourselves the way that we could.
Oh, yeah.
It's about survival.
Making the best of a bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
And and actually I feel like in a lot of ways, because of how we had to adapt, in a lot of ways it seems to be working out better for efficiency and for people to have more opportunities because you don't have travel as a restriction. So now everything's being run through remote kind of stuff. So I mean, while we can still do stuff in person, there's still at least the option, at the very least it's an option to be able to do it remote, and
I'm honestly grateful for it, not having to commute anymore. Yeah, I made some pretty big life decisions through that pandemic. So, woo.
Yeah. I was gonna say we did have an episode where we talked about Soul, and I pointed out it came out at the exact perfect time, because everybody was, like you said, we were being all reflective about the year we had just experienced, and to have that happen around Christmas time, end of the year, that's at that point the 9-month mark, a little over 9 months of being in a pandemic and having to deal with that, and have everybody reevaluating their life choices in the middle of it all, and going like, maybe this is what I can do with my life, and not so much as having a purpose, but as just being able to live it and figuring out how else you can do it, how to make the most of it. So yeah, it's been very retrospective.
That's a nice way to put it. I don't really have anything else to add, so I'm just kind of chilling.
I guess I guess what we can do is, that we're kind of like in an introspective looking point right now. I guess what I could ask is, do you have any advice you'd like to share with anybody that listens here that would like to become a voice actor,
or even like a competitive gamer too? Because like, we have a lot of voice actors, but we never have any gamers. So.
I mean, I could cover both. It's kind of the same advice anyway.
Yeah, go ahead, do both.
Some of it might sound cliche, but honestly, follow your dreams. Do anything it takes to make it happen. Reasonably. Be smart about it. But
I was going to be like, don't murder people, kids.
I was told I'd outgrow video games. I was told I'd outgrow cartoons, and now I have professions in both, and I love my life interacting with fans and spreading the word like this through this podcast. So, I think it's worth, but you got to do the work. It's not easy. You can't just do it no matter what and sacrifice everything. You gotta take the time to reflect in between, make sure you're on the right path. you gotta study up. Like, seriously. You gotta study, and you have to keep studying. And the grind never stops. But that's a good thing. Because the meta is never static. You always have to adapt. Like, you hear those commercials on the radio. They used to be like, come on down to buy 3 for the price of 1. But now everyone tunes that out because that's the sound of a commercial. And the point of a commercial is to sell something, right? So the meta has changed. So now it's more like, hey, have you heard of this product? It's wild. Check it out. It's super relatable. It's like a friend posted on Instagram.
Yeah, exactly.
And so things are always going to change, and you always have to be learning and paying attention, working on your skills, no matter where you are in life with that. And that applies to anything. So
yeah, absolutely. I'd like to point out as a side note, the moment you try to do that, the salesperson voice, I'm like, careful, your Katie Killjoy is showing. I love it though. It's so important to be able to care about what you do, and again, like I was even talking with Rachel the other day, saying you just gotta love what you do if you want to make sure you're putting out the best stuff, and it matters a whole lot. And again, like, study up, make sure you know what you're doing, what you're getting yourself into.
Like, take classes. There are online classes now. Watch YouTube videos. Yeah.
Actually, I would say there's even Masterclass. Nancy Cartwright has a class on Masterclass. On
oh, neat! I didn't know that.
Yeah, on Voice Acting 101, and she actually has some really great tips on there. I was listening to her stuff the other day, and you can give Masterclass a try. It tends to run a little bit more expensive, but I had I was gifted a membership for my birthday last year, and been using it for cooking classes, and then Nancy Cartwright, and then I have a David Lynch class I've still got to go through for storytelling. So there's a whole bunch of stuff, But yeah, no, she has a really great class where actually I want to say more than 50% of it is her but as an animated counterpart.
Oh, nice.
Which is, so I'm like, somebody was paid to animate a Nancy Cartwright caricature for it, so that way she could do the voice acting stuff. And then I guess they also make as part of it a kind of like a sample show, so that she can show how to do different voices for 3 different characters in a show. All with different personalities and different tones, and how to be able to do it as one person. She even teaches you how to do, if you're having to dub over something, for example, in a different language, and there may be sometimes you have to say something in a different language, and how to use phonetics to and understand the dialogue in another language, see the translation, read it out, or write out the phonetics of that line, and then listen to how the line is read in the original dub, that kind of thing. So there's so it's almost like teaching yourself another language, while at the same time you're just trying to emulate it as best as possible. So she has a lot of great tips on there. Sorry to ramble, but just because I realize a lot of people didn't know that there was a class of that on there. And I would say D. Bradley Baker has really excellent resources as well.
Yes.
I believe he has his
I want to be a voiceactor.com. I highly recommend it.
Out of curiosity, how do you get into competitive gaming, just generally? Do you just go to meetups and stuff like that?
Yeah, so obviously with the pandemic things are different now. But back in the day, it usually starts with just a passion for a specific game. So I've done it with Smash, I've done it with Pokken. I've done it with many games, but those 2 in particular stand out. So I'll use Pokken as an example. Pokken is it's a video game that was based off of Pokemon and Tekken. It's basically like a Pokemon fighting game. And it was something I started playing for fun because I was just, really focused on work and school or whatever. Really focused on stuff. So I wanted just a recreational activity. So I took on Pokken and I played it so much. I started ranking up on their online. There's you can play on Wi-Fi, and there's a ranking system. I played it a lot and just like kept ranking up. And then I was like, I don't know, I was posting about it on social media, and someone reached out to me, like a friend reached out to me, and they were like, hey, you know, they do locals, like local tournaments of this game at this one location in like, it was actually kind of far for me, but I was like, oh, that sounds pretty fun. I'll check it out sometime. They do it every week. So I checked it out. I didn't like win it, but I did pretty well. And they were like, that was so much fun. Faye, you got to come back next week. And I was like, yeah, actually, yeah, I kind of like this. I'll come back next week. And then I came back enough times that it just became a thing. I started placing higher and higher. I would win some tournaments. And then I was like traveling because like you kind of like get to know your community as like, it's like a family, like any other hobby, right? If you have like a club or anything like that, it's basically like a club. I got to know them very well, and you kind of get addicted to the rush. Like it's you want to see if you can do better than the last time that you performed in this tournament. And you want to root for your friends too. And then so when they announce things like regional tournaments where, you know, people from further away meet at one location, and then, you know, national tournaments, global tournaments, like you always want to root for your crew. And it's just like a whole experience that's like nothing else. And it's that community that means so much to me. I love that about competitive gaming. And so that's kind of how I got into it. It always starts with just like, I love this game. Oh, hey, other people like this game. Oh, hey, now we're like competing in this game. Oh, now it's like real serious. There's like money on the line and stuff.
Snap.
And like people from all over the world coming to Evo, for example, like people from, oh God, I have so many stories, but this would be a whole other podcast, let me tell you. So I won't go into it, but I'll just say briefly, like I went to Japan, and Japan has like these beautiful, amazing arcades that are like several stories of like arcade cabinets and stuff like that. Like it's all like the arcades there are nothing like the US. It's so different. It's like, imagine like a several story, I don't know, Sears or something. I can't think of a good example. Where it's all like video games, like rhythm games, fighting games, whatever, all kinds of games. So I went there and I sat down at one of the Pokken arcade cabinets, and I just made some friends there. And so like during my little travels over in Japan, I made some local friends who liked the game, and then I saw them again at the global tournament at Evo. And at that global tournament at Evo, I knew like those Japanese players, I knew the players that were local to me, and any other players I met during my travels for the regional tournaments, to the point where I realized I was kind of like a bridge. And so I did exactly that. Like the Evo usually happens in Vegas. So I booked like a restaurant and brought everybody together, and not everybody could speak the same language, but everybody knew Pokken. So it was, I don't know, it was a good time. And then we all just kind of crowded into small hotel rooms and played in there, even if after the tournament or, you know, between the days of the tournament. So I don't know. Those are the best moments of competitive gaming for me. So I'm really happy to be part of an esports team now. I just announced it 4 days ago.
That was the thing. Okay.
Yes. So I'm part of an esports team now, but as a content creator. So I don't really compete anymore, and it's hard to compete anyway because you can't go to any, you know, live events. But I'm very happy to just like represent and talk about things like this, like why competitive gaming is so cool to me, and sharing that with the world, and streaming and just gaming and having like just vibing with people who come into the chat, etc. And yeah, I'll be
that
posting
sounds
stuff on YouTube
so
too.
nice.
Oh, it's so nice. It really is.
I'm just like, it's a little sideway. I was debating on saying it, but I'll just so you must get hit on quite a lot.
I mean, I'd say like any typically male-dominant hobby that tends to happen, but
I'm just like, oh no, poor Faye, you know.
Yeah.
I have to like bring a bat.
It's funny because like I can't think of. I didn't really date within the community.
That's probably a good rule.
Yeah,
not to be any like stereotypical, but it can make things messy from what I've heard. So
Yeah, I mean, I think it also depends on the maturity levels of people, you know? Like,
Yeah.
when I think about it, I think
I
of,
feel
like,
that.
years ago, right? I was, like a very young girl getting hit on by older people, and it's just, like, weird, right?
Ugh.
It's not okay. But I don't know, like, I imagine it's kind of like work relationships later on.
Yeah.
If you're, like, older and mature about it, it's probably fine. But,
Yeah.
you know, you gotta manage drama. People like to talk. People like to make drama. But it's... Those are some of my least favorite parts of communities like that. But that's not just competitive gaming. That's, like, all communities, right?
This is every
Yeah.
community, unfortunately.
Maybe we need to do a podcast about that sometime, Lauren. Just like awkwardly turning like some of the grosser bronies down or something like that.
There you go.
In a nice
Like-
way. In a nice way.
It's like, I came to BronyCon to have a good time, and honestly, I'm feeling so attacked right now.
Well, I mean, again, it's I try to employ the empathy thing I mentioned earlier about fans to all situations, right? So sometimes, you know, some dudes are just, like, really socially awkward about how they, like they love a video game. Like, they're very, very passionate about a game. And because of that passion, it's so rare to come across other people, even just friends, like just friends of the same gender that they can share that love with. And if they happen to be attracted to females and they come around, like, that's just like a whoa, what? I could talk freely and be myself around this person that I have a crush on now. It's like, it's just
What is girl?
what is girl? This does not compute. And so awkward things happen, and sometimes they'll say things that just really don't need to be said. Just like it's like, why do you say that? Don't say that. But sometimes they just don't know any better, and so
Yeah.
you as the girl just kind of like, I don't know. It depends. You can.
It's okay, Pat.
You
I'm
can
awkward
you
too.
can tell. Yeah. Like, I'm definitely awkward. Like, you could see it on my streams, but you know, you can learn to I don't know, recognize social cues and stuff and work on that. And that's just another one of those things that you grind in life, you know. You can do it in your own style, but
Yeah,
Oh my
like
God,
even how
yeah.
just do
like
it
even how I
respectfully.
interact with people. Yeah, even how I interact with people is like, I tend to, like, I'll start a conversation with somebody, or somehow the conversation ends up involving me, and I start talking to people, and then I go, oh, by the way, I'm, you know, just introducing myself at that point, because it's almost like feeling people out first.
Oh yeah,
That's just how I feel
but
comfortable.
that's
It's
fine.
just kind of like,
I don't even think
Yeah.
that that's such a bad thing.
yeah, it's just because it just makes you're kind of like, almost like doing a little, it's like doing a vibe check and making sure that, you know,
Yeah.
oh, are you cool if I can continue conversing with you? Okay, cool. By the way, I'm
Did you ever, Lauren, out of curiosity, did you get hit on that last BronyCon, or did you avoid that? Or
luckily I didn't have to face really any of that. I think there were more of just like the in-community teasing, but it was, you know, of the people that, you know, shippers galore, they'll ship everybody with everyone.
Yeah, that's
but
fair.
But that's just
True,
all in good
true,
jest,
true.
and I play along with it, and it's just, yeah, it's all good fun. But fortunately, no, I didn't have to experience anything. And then again, I was with a lot of friend groups and stuff like that at that point, and jumping around from friend group to friend group with different little, I guess just like little social dynamics are all different there. So I really didn't have to worry so much about that.
I do have something to
Not
say
to say
about
it hasn't
that,
happened.
though, KP, related to that. When you're
oh,
finished,
sure, go
Lauren.
ahead.
Well, are you?
Oh yeah, no, you go ahead, go right on ahead.
Okay.
I was pretty much
Everyone's
done
just
with
so
my point.
polite. Go
Okay, well, yeah. So similar to what I said about how, like, dudes will be very excited that they get to share this passion with, you know, someone that they're attracted to. I just generally want to say, like, I, as a female, would love to see more diversity in these gaming communities. So personally, like I'm very excited to be part of an esports team and like hopefully represent in that way just by doing these things. Like I don't want to like preach about anything, but just be visible. Like, oh, I didn't even know that was an option. Yeah, I want young girls to see that and be like, oh, that's so sick. Like I want to do that too.
I can do
I
that.
didn't know that was
I can do that.
Yeah, exactly. And then they'll at least try it out. I want to see more female coders, like all kinds of things like that are mostly male dominant, that I think I'd love to see more like women express themselves in.
Yeah.
So
I'm
I'm
go
excited
ahead, Lauren.
for that.
No, I was just saying yeah.
Oh, okay.
As
I
an
was just
agreement.
gonna say, and that's something that's slowly changing within the animation community. Is it's been traditionally a male dominated, like male animators, that kind of thing, and it's slowly shifting to be equal, and more females are in art schools right now, so we'll eventually probably be female driven, and I'm kind of excited for that. But and then we're finally starting to get our first showrunners with like Starverses and other people I can't think of off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, go run shows, girl power, or however you identify power. Good for you.
Yeah. Especially when it comes to storytelling, right? Like it was always like dudes telling their impression of what a woman thinks in their show or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like this is great. Like seeing more variety. So yeah,
it was kind of like what happened with what I feel like happened with when you have instances like the movie Brave, where originally Brenda Chapman was directing it and leading the story on it, and technically speaking, I believe that's why the first 20 minutes of Brave are the strongest out of the entire film, because after that, when she got dethroned and had a guy replace her as the leading director, that everything fell apart after that.
That's a great
Brave
example.
Is kind of Brave is kind of the best of what we could have potentially got given the circumstances, kind of thing. So she's, I don't know, like she's technically part of the Disney Princess line, whatever, but I don't really care for Merida, so like whatever, like if she helps like young Scottish girls like learn how to archer or whatever, good, God bless them. But she's basically like she's just like another like Jasmine too, except this like very similar, and doesn't get Aladdin at the end or something. So
yeah, but
there's my hot take.
Yeah, I liked her better in the first 20 minutes, because then at the point where she tried to poison her own mother, at the risk of poisoning her own mother, that's where I'm like, you lost me there, honey. No, you don't just take food from strangers and give it to your mom thinking it's gonna.
This will be
when
fine.
You change your fate. Hey, didn't you realize that changing your fate means like literally anything can change things? And what if that ended up being that your mother died and then you had to I'm just saying, it's like, No,
Disney princess or murderer. So
that's it. Like it rubbed me the wrong way,
I'm
and I
pretty
could
sure
not
I
enjoy
saw
the
that
movie after that.
and it's kind of unmemorable.
Well, it's because they took the other half of the story from Brother Bear, which did it a lot better. Because guess what? The story in Brother Bear is supposed to make sense because the bears have a purpose. There are no bears in Scotland. Okay, I said it. There are no bears in Scotland. So why did you have to have bears in Scotland?
I'm offended for the bears. Oh no.
Wow.
And it's such a shame because they're really nicely animated bears in Brave too, but it didn't make sense. I don't care if the original running title was The Bear and the Bow. Like, it was just felt like the first 20 minutes you could have run with that whole tangent that you had going there, and then it diverged into something else entirely, and it felt like an entirely different story after that. And I'm like, no, I could go on about that, and I'm not going to, but I could.
Okay, I guess we should wrap unless this becomes
Thank you so much.
The
Thank
Brave
you so much,
Rant
ladies.
podcast.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I guess comment below or whatever if you want to hear our bad hit on by guys stories in nice ways, or how to deal with that, or how to.
Maybe we just have like a group of people. We have Faye come back. We have a few other people come back, and all share stories of, like, here's the do's and don'ts of
when
this
you're
and
hitting on
navigating
girls.
this world.
That would be a podcast.
Okay, yeah, I will keep that in mind because that might also be fun for people to listen to, and just like as long as we are compassionate for the people who are just a little bit socially awkward. I think that's the big thing, and not naming names and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
And it's
All
okay
right,
to be socially awkward. You just need to put in effort to try to learn, so nobody's
yeah, we believe in
hurt
you.
through that.
yeah, yeah.
So Faye,
where
where can people
Yeah, I was
find
gonna
you?
say.
Yeah,
I beat you to it, haha.
So check me out on Twitter, at twitter.com/Faymata, FAYEMATA. Check me out on, I guess I'm going to be on YouTube soon, so youtube.com/Faymata, FAYEMATA. And I stream live on Twitch right now, twitch.tv/Faymata. I stream every week, several times a week.
Perfect. Go follow her on there, people,
It's like
so
she
you
likes
get pinged
games or
every time
something.
she's on.
All right, and that's
And
all
check
I
out my
have for this
IMDb
week.
if you want to check out any of the stuff and watch.
You know,
play
the
stuff,
completely
play
chronologically correct IMDb.
games. Yeah. Totally correct.
It's just nice
Was
to
abs-
have an IMDb. Like it sounds like,
Honestly, yeah, I'm surprised how much the industry uses it.
Well, I mean, it's a helpful database to have, as long as the information's correct.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
I'm pretty sure there are things in there that I'm not actually in that people think they hear me and they just add it. Stuff like that. And there are things that I am in that I'm proud of that aren't on it, but I don't know. I don't bother adding it.
That's a mood.
But anyway.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you, thank
again.
All right.
All right, yeah, and then if you want to listen to us, we're on the usual places in case you don't know that by now. So Spotify and iTunes or YouTube or whatever. New episodes every Wednesday for the most part. Thanks, guys, for listening, and we'll see you next show unless you're watching an older show. Which, watch all of them, please. We have a lot.
Yeah.
So watch them all.
Hey,
Bye.
good night, everybody.
Thank you so much for listening to Animation Communication on YouTube, Spotify, or your favorite podcast provider. We are really hoping this show makes a difference in how people view animation and media, as well as giving and providing advice for people all over the world who like or want to join the animation or media industry. If you liked what you heard, please remember to subscribe and rate those 5 stars, as well as tell your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our main YouTube channel, I Love Kim Possible a Lot, and turn those notifications on. My name is Scribbler, and you have been listening to Animation Kimmunication.